Yo, 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 yo. What's up, guys? Mr. Little Bat, Wick, what's up? What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good morning. How are you guys? Day 8? Are we on day 8 of Planescape? I think that's what we're on, yeah. Not enough Java this morning yet, man. Yeah, day 8 of Planescape, man. So more reading. More reading today. Good times. But we're plugging along, man. The game's a lot of fun. The old school CRPGs, man. Lots of reading, but very immersive, and it's a good time. So we're pushing. We'll be through it by the end of the week. Yeah. So then we'll push into Witcher 3. It'll be a good time. Hope everybody's day is going well, starting well, has gone well, whatever time it is for you. Let's do what we do. Let's go hop into this video gaming news segment, yeah, and then we'll work our way into the games. Cool? Let's go, let's go. All right. Oh, baby. Yo, Java Lava? It's where it's at, man. So good. All right. I'm going to have to start seeking out a sponsorship, dude. Just so I can get free Java Lava. It's so good, man. Sony is launching gaming gear aimed at PC players. This is going to coincide with what they're launching for PlayStation, I guess. All right, we'll look at this one. Wizard Royale Spellbreak is shutting down next year. Okay. Their player base must have gotten pretty bad, I'm guessing. Waiting on the boss call. Oh, for real? Working on quitting my job. Oh, dude. Yo, that's brutal, man. Nice. Oh, dude, rando mote time with Pepe DS, dude. Check that out. Get your rando motes in there, guys. Yo, Mr. Little Bat. Yo, that's rough, buddy. That's rough. Yeah. Weird times, dude. Weird times. Nice Wick. Sorry, man. I hope that I hope you're able to figure something out very soon, man. And hopefully it wasn't a job that you know. Hopefully it wasn't a really good job that you enjoyed a lot, and you're just the circumstances are making you give it up because it's just not worth financially for you, and doesn't work out because of the commute and the toll that takes and everything. So I don't know. You'll be in my thoughts, buddy. Hopefully something will pan out for you very quick, man. Yeah, that's rough though, dude. Sorry, man. Gamer, what's up, buddy? GG's. Nice try, guys. Nice try. Yo, that's the first time I've seen Pepe DS come up in as our random emote. That's actually sick. I love it. We watched the Nintendo Direct showcase yesterday. It wasn't bad. I would say probably one of the better ones I've seen over the past year and a half. Yeah, they were very kind of hush hush about it too. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't get like blown out of the water or anything, but the past handful of Nintendo Direct showcases, I just hadn't been very enthused about. I was just kind of like, meh. Okay. Well, that's a bummer, buddy. Yeah. Well, hopefully something works out very soon for you, man. What's up, Devea? Having a good day, huh? That's good. That's good. What's going on? Yeah. Okay. So Kingdom Hearts fans decry cloud versions again after Near Automata gets a full Switch release. Yeah, we'll take a quick look. Xbox's Game Boss reportedly claims Bethesda no longer crunch culture. We'll see. Yeah, we already read about that. I'm not going to be reading into the whole PS Plus versus Xbox Game Pass. Again, I kind of hit on this yesterday. These articles keep coming up now, as I kind of expected them to. But here's the deal: Xbox Game Pass has been out for years. And Microsoft has had a good amount of time to really hone in what this product is for them. And it is a nice product. PlayStation Plus has been a thing, but not. They just kind of pivoted it into this big subscription service to kind of be their version of what Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass is, right? And so for people to be comparing them right now, I think isn't totally fair. And the numbers aren't really going to be a great representation of how people are feeling about each one as far as subscriber bases, whether it be people staying with Xbox Game Pass, people getting a subscription or maintaining a subscription to both, or people switching over. It's going to take time for us to see how that plays out, right? And PlayStation needs a little bit of time to work on honing in their subscription service to get a good feel about how competitive it can be to what Xbox Game Pass is, I feel. It just released earlier this month. So I'm not going to dive into that kind of stuff until we have a little bit of time, maybe about 6 months or so. Let's give it a little bit of time before we start trying to dive in and take a look at let's get some real substantial numbers behind it, okay? Um, we've already looked at a lot of the PS Plus games that are coming out and being included the subscription service for next month. So I'm not going to dive into that. But Xbox games with gold free games for July. We'll take a look at that. A very good day. Nice, Devea. That's awesome. I'm glad, my friend. That's what I like to hear. Zoe AI is the next Steam Deck competitor. We'll take a glance. We'll take a glance. Total War Warhammer 3 shaking things up. Let's see what they're doing there. Um, Fantastic has come under fire for using unpaid labor to help develop The Day Before, one of the most anticipated games on Steam. We got a lot of articles this morning. We got some stuff to go over. Rumor: gaming leaker claims Bayonetta 3 is coming on the 28th of July, maybe? We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we've already got something up about the new Sony in-zone peripherals and monitors and stuff, headsets, things like that. Fall Guys has been absolutely killing it right now. Not only has it like significantly increased the amount of traffic across Epic, but it's the player base on Steam has jumped up as well. Game Pass more expensive in your opinion? Games are not mind blowing. Need to play all these games. Maybe the games can be found on PlayStation as well as Game Pass. All comes down to preference and or what console a person has. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it for sure. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be leaning on you kind of heavily because you've got a lot of experience with Game Pass, and now you've pivoted into PlayStation Plus. You know, for their you're on their premium, right? You have their top subscription? Is that the one you got? Because that's the one where you get all the access to all the old school games and everything, the OGs, as it were. I thought that was the one you got. Intel's official Arc A380 gaming benchmarks confirm it's on what? We'll find out there. I'm pretty sure, isn't the A380 their new, yeah, this is their new GPU, right? They're coming out with. They've already got benchmarks out in China, but we're waiting. A lot of testers are waiting to get their hands on it, like here in the western part of the world. So I want to bring something up, and you know, if Wick, if you're available, dude, you know, we talked about something last week that I wasn't aware of, um, and you know, I know Casual was talking about it. I think it might have been Fat Pat that brought it up to me. Um, was the issue that was going on with G Fuel? Have you guys heard about all this stuff? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, you're good, buddy. You're good. Yeah, you're good. You're good. No, that's what I thought. Yeah. No, not a big deal about speed or anything like that, dude. Um, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. Yeah, and you're absolutely correct. If you feel like you're getting the same majority, the same kind of content from both, why pay for both? Yeah, absolutely. Um, just go with which one ever you feel like is going to be the best. Yeah. So there was a big to do regarding G Fuel a couple of weeks ago. A lot of their sponsored content creators, sponsored individuals were reaching out and going, I don't want to be a part of your company anymore because they what basically went down was like what was it? Apparently there were some higher ups within G Fuel that had engaged in some potential slanderish maybe even like hate speech kind of communication. And when people started asking about it, they just started getting fired. Like the managers of some of these content creators that worked for G Fuel, you know, and like even the content creators themselves were like trying to talk about it within like these streams that G Fuel was putting up and everything, and they were just getting banned out of it. Something to that effect, man. And I might try to find something on it real quick. What's the latest we have on this? One week ago. We might watch this. Yeah, this is basically what it was. This is the TLDR, I think. G Fuel fired 7 employees within 24 hours who filed HR complaints about an executive using a slur on a team call. Um, Today, G Fuel fired 7 of their partner talent managers without warning. The employers were told it was a part of a restructuring for the company, although it comes a day after a higher up in a company is alleged of using a derogatory slur whilst in a team wide call. Yeah. Who knew the CEO of the company that sells energy drinks to children is a terrible person? Yeah, and apparently a lot of these like people that had taken on these sponsorships from G Fuel started reaching out and saying basically, I don't want to be involved with your company anymore. La 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 la, you know, and um, we had kind of read a little bit about it previously. I might even pull this up and we might watch that, just get a little bit more of an explanation. Um, the thing I find, again, I mean, you know, we need to get the facts of the situation, right? We need to get the facts and find out exactly what's going on there. But again, I mean, I can say for myself, especially, you know, I would in the first place, I I wouldn't feel comfortable being sponsored by G Fuel in the first place. It's not a product that aligns with me. I would never use it. I would never actually drink it. So I wouldn't feel comfortable sponsoring it. And therefore, if I was ever going to be sponsored by anything, it would have to be a product that I actually used, I was familiar with, uh, as well as needing to be very comfortable with the company and um, to the greatest extent possible, knowing that I could trust them. You're not always going to know everything that's going on in a company and stuff, and for a lot of people, content creators, streamers, and things, they need these sponsorships to maintain this way of life of being a content creator and doing what they love, and I get that. But I say kudos to those individuals that tried to get out of being associated with G Fuel because Um, that's pretty terrible. It gave us a good shot or a good look at what's going on within that corporation, and not that I've ever seen it as something that was probably a very good place, just because of what the product is and everything. Seems weird, and but nonetheless, I still see it promoted all over the place right now on Twitch and with streamers and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll keep looking. We'll keep looking. Um, and here we go. Game Lancer renews partnership with G Fuel. This is why it all got brought up, right? So the reason I dug into that a little bit was because we had talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I just kind of wonder where this is headed. Um, as far as like repercussions for G Fuel as a company, the CEO, if anything. You know what I mean? I figured they were going to start tanking because of all this stuff, but apparently not. Maybe there was a bit of misinformation in there. We'll try to research it a bit more and see what's going on. Michelle back. That sucked. Not too happy about it, but it is what it is. Go help them out off and on while I'm looking around for another job. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that sucks. For 6 years. Yeah, that's brutal, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, dude. That's tough. I'm sorry, man. I do hope something. I hope you're able to figure something out pretty quick, man. That's rough. Times are rough right now, man. Weird times. The good. That's a good way to look at it, man. Just believe that it's what's meant to be, and something better will happen, right? Yeah. Maintain that attitude, buddy. It'll happen. Fantasy Flight Games founder Christian Peterson creates uh, a new studios, purchases Keyforge from Asmodee. Okay, we'll see about that. Dude, we got a lot of news this morning. We're gonna have to skim through a good amount of this. Yeah, we talked about the new features on Edge. Yeah, I mean, I try to be that person as well. To the greatest extent possible. I feel like if you're not, life will just beat you down, man. It will just beat you down if you're not that kind of person. Um, where you try to see the positive in most things in life, life will just constantly just keep pounding away at you, man, and it'll be hard to work your way through it. Arms Immortalis GPU first with hardware ray tracing. We'll see about that. Saw Nintendo's Direct yesterday, so I'm not going to go over that stuff. Saw some good stuff. See so many of these kinds of articles, I'm just not going to dive into that. I've said that recently on other news segments previous days. If I see something worth, it's so saturated. Our news, we come up with these same kinds of like Bitcoin.com. It's all these crypto sites that are giving us these news about. It's virtually the same stuff. It seems like a big promotional thing all the time of trying to raise awareness of these gaming developers in the crypto with their crypto economies and trying to lift them up and promote them. It just seems weird. So if I see something that seems worth diving into, I will. But that quite often at this point they just don't. We've got Sony already pulled up. Chinese video gaming billionaire wants to move abroad. Many of them do. Yeah, we saw Persona, the Persona 5, a lot of the other previous Persona games coming to Switch. A lot of people are excited about that. We saw that in the showcase yesterday. Atari turns 50. We've talked about that. Very cool. This is false. Video game industry proves to be recession proof. Nothing is recession proof, I would say. It is very recession resilient. But recession proof, I digress. Look, at the core of what video games are, they are entertainment. They are a want and not a need. They are not a basic necessity of life. They are not, as much as somebody like me loves video games, it is not more important than shelter, food, water, things like that, right? Basic necessities of life. Therefore, in a dire situation in the world where economies just collapsed and everything, significant recession, video games are not recession proof. They are very, very resilient, though. Use a quote I heard years ago: try to use it, go buy it. Darkest night, light will always prevail. Yeah, it's a good one, man. It's a good one. Yeah, again, I mean, what do you mean exactly, gamer? What exactly is what we refer to as common sense? I mean, as far as that goes, whatever. Are you talking about what I just said? If there's anything I've learned about people, especially after managing other people and managing an IT section in a very large organization, not a whole lot of people have common sense anymore. Just like having to interact with a lot of people on a daily basis has taught me that not a whole lot of people have common sense. So it's like, yeah, a lot of things that I would assume, that I would refer to as being common sense, doesn't really surprise me that there's a large chunk of people in the world that don't really get it, because it's such a common sense. It is a rarity in people, it seems nowadays. I don't know, man. Is it just me? And this is coming from a three head. You know what I mean? Cheers. New Marvel game reportedly in works at EA. Oh, I can't wait for this one. Well, yeah. I mean, the other thing is like it's so again. Right. That's what I figured you were getting at, gamer. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, super SMH, dude. Capital SMH, bro. Yeah, it's like this is what's wild to me is like there is definitely something to be said for common sense just being like life smart. You know what I mean? I worked in an educational institution for an amount of time where there were PhDs running around, right? Within their field, they had gotten massive enough education under their belt that they were legit referred to as doctors, and they were some of the most life ignorant kind of people that I had ever met. Book smart, yes, but as far as anything else outside of their specialty, nothing. You know what I mean? And apparently, they were only very good at just memorizing text and being able to pass tests. You know what I mean? Um, so you're absolutely right. There is a lot to be said for common sense, life smarts. You know what I mean? Well, no, gamer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what I was trying to get at, man. Is they're going to say that video games are recession proof. I've seen all kind. I've seen these articles keep cropping up. It's like video games are recession proof. They're never gonna. You know what I mean? It's like nothing can touch them. That's not right, dude. That's not right. And this is coming from somebody that loves video games, right? I mean, I love video games. I love the industry, but at the core, what it boils down to ultimately is that they are a want for us, not necessarily a need. Are they very good for many of us? Yes, I definitely think so. Do they have a positive effect on our emotional state quite often by allowing us to escape the quite often stressors of life and things like that? Yeah, I think they're a great thing for a lot of people. Can it be a toxic environment sometimes if you're doing multiplayer stuff? Yeah. But ultimately, I think they're a good thing for many people. But again, what it boils down to is they're not a need, man. It's not a need. It's definitely a want. It's not something that gives you, the basic necessities to sustain your life, right? So to say that they're absolutely recession proof, that is a false statement. Yeah, yeah, exactly, gamer. Yeah. uh, well, I have actually seen a video of that. Apparently. Yeah, I don't know, dude. That would be me, though. Mr. Little Bat. That would be me, probably. If I was homeless, that would be my sign. We'll work for video games. Oh man. Oh no. Oh no, I've been found out. Me too. Oh no. All right, I take back everything I said. I just called myself out. All right. This game is Outlast with guns. What is this? I can hunt for my food. Yeah, dude, let's go. Let's go. Yeah. Everything will be okay. Last was part one PS5 features revealed. We got a lot of articles, dude. They are really pumping out the articles today. Cult classic PS1 game getting new remake. What? What? What is it? All right, last page here. That's actually hilarious. I just turned that whole thing around on myself. So bad. Yeah, new Bomberman game announced. We saw that yesterday. I'm not going to dive into that. We saw it yesterday on the Nintendo Direct. It's not part of the news segment because quite often watching stuff like that, it's hard to post the news segments to YouTube, so I usually watch the showcases after the news segment and don't include them in my uploads to YouTube for the news segments. But if you're interested in what the Nintendo Showcase had to offer, then I would suggest going and just either looking at Nintendo's Twitch page, there'll be a VOD, or their YouTube page. You can see the Nintendo Direct Showcase from yesterday and get a look at everything they had. We're not gonna look at this. Horizon Zero Dawn, Netflix TV series crew details revealed. We're not gonna look at the crew details. Yeah, 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 gamer. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's super cringy, right? It's super cringy, in my opinion. As a content creator, as a broadcaster myself, uh, I hate seeing that. And because the way I approach the entire situation myself is in a way that, and again, I'm very fortunate to do what I do right now. Um, are we in as comfortable as a spot as we used to be when I wasn't doing this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But am I in a better state, like just mentally and all around? I am all around just a happier person doing what I do right now, and that makes a huge difference to me. And it has an effect on my loved ones, my family as well. I'm not as stressed. I'm not as beat down at the end of the day and stuff like that. And I understand wanting to chase your dream and everything. I also worked. I worked very hard for quite a while to get to a point where we felt comfortable enough that I could go ahead and take this jump, this venture, right, into trying to chase my dream. And I understand people chasing their dream and having struggling to do it, to be a content creator, because it's a very saturated space, right? It's very saturated, and a lot. I feel like a lot of people have they're a bit delusional about the way it's going to work, right? Um, I feel like a lot of people, because a lot of what you see when it comes to Twitch and broadcasters, content creators, things like that, you only see the popular ones, right? You only see the Miskiffs, the OTK streamers, the you know XQC and Trainwreck and yeah, I mean all of them, right? Cutie and I mean, there's so many. There's so many. And but that's like a small percentage of these individuals that have gotten into this realm of content creation that have been able to make a sustainable career out of it, right? And it gives off this false impression that to a lot of people, I feel that you're going to be able to get in there and you're gonna make it big, right? And so people feel like they're going to just do it. They're just going to do it, and everything's going to be okay, and they're going to be able to sustain, and it doesn't always work like that. It's kind of like a reality slap in the face, if you will, to some people, and then it's like, you know, I think it prompts them to start resorting to things like that, like engaging with their community, going, you know, I need you to I need you to help me out so I can keep providing entertainment. It's a rough situation, and again, I understand wanting to chase your dream. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I love hanging out with you guys every day. And again, for me, I would never ever ask anybody to do anything like that. I just want this to be a place where everybody feels comfortable to come and hang out and be a part of this and create a good community. I think that's what it's about. if you create something that I feel like people enjoy and want to be a part of, that's what it has to be before it will turn into anything more, right? And so that's what this was all for the get go for me, was trying to just create a nice spot for people to come and hang out, and if it caught on, then it was meant to be, and eventually it would turn into something sustainable. If I was supposed to do this for the rest of my life, it would turn into something sustainable, and I'm not looking to be wealthy, but my dream would be for this to turn into something sustainable, so I could continue to do this and support my family, and do what I love to do every single day, which is hang out with you guys and play games, and dive into the industry, and I absolutely enjoy it very much. But I would never ever want to make people feel like they needed to do anything monetarily, because I know how many people out there struggle, I know how many people out there struggle in the world, and that's why, like, at the same time, like, I don't want people to have to feel like they need to do anything monetarily. That's why anytime anybody does anything like sub, or donate or do bits, or anything like that, I'm kind of at a loss for words, because it means so much to me, and I want them to know how much I appreciate them doing that, because it really does make me feel good about what it makes me feel like what we're doing here is right, and that we're doing something good, because people feel like they want to support what the community is, and that's great. Um, and that's another, like, I try not, I have ads turned off to the greatest extent possible in the community. I don't want people to have to deal with things. I just want this to be a place where people can come and enjoy being together, enjoy the entertainment, and hopefully it'll grow into something great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Lobat. Yep. Yeah, no, 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 no. Yeah, I'm well aware of that struggle. Well aware of that struggle. Hmm. And look, I mean, it's not just in the country I live in. I mean, there are dire places to live all over the world, right? And we this is a community of people from all over the world, right? So everybody has their own struggles, and again, that's what this place is. That's the foundation of our community, right? Is uh, trying to be aware and accepting of the fact that we all have our own issues, and that's why what this is supposed to be is like welcoming, understanding, and just a safe place for people to come and chill and not have to worry about the things, and not feel like they owe anything to us other than to come, hang out, and relax and not worry about the stressors, right? Yeah, all over the world, all over the world. Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right, gamer. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Hmm. The thing about it is, gamer, is um for the most part, nobody just starts streaming and automatically hits just like tons of viewers, right? It doesn't happen for most people. It's a process of building your community, showing people what you're offering as far as content, creating more content, getting recognition out there. The more you do that, the more people find out about what your community is and who you are, and what you're offering as far as being a consistent place, a consistent community that's live and engaging, and that's part of it, right? And that's where the real struggle is um, having that amount of that opportunity to have consistent full time, to be able to try to build that engaging community, to have a consistent schedule where you can full time stream, in order to, which again, I'm very fortunate to have that, to try to see if this can turn into something real, right? Because ultimately, for most people, it just doesn't work like that. Most people, not every, most people, it doesn't go. You don't just start streaming and within 2 months you're just hitting like thousands of viewers, right? it's a struggle. It takes a lot of work, and it's not lost on me that this might not be something that I'm able to do forever. But I'm going to work very hard on it while I can to try and see if I can make it work, because it is very important to me. And I feel like from a lot of the things that I've seen and dealt with in my life, it wasn't just important for me to be able to do something that was my passion. It was important for me to try to create a space so that people that might be going through things that I had gone through in my own life knew they had some place that they could go and feel safe and welcome and accepted and not judged and just be okay. You know what I mean? And if I can give that to some people for a little bit, even if I'm not able to do this for the rest of my life, then hopefully it made a difference. Hopefully it made a difference while I was able to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, gamer. Yep. Yep. All right. All right. Let's finish this up. I know you guys got me on a. I'm surprised nobody told me to shut up. Yeah, we saw the Return to Monkey Island gameplay trailer yesterday during the showcase, Nintendo showcase as well. Looks cool. This war of mine is being taught at Polish schools. Wild. Dude, so much news today. It's just going to be an all-day news segment, okay, guys? It's going to be an all-day news segment, all right? Um, Gotham Knights reveals new Robin gameplay demo. I'm going to have to really skim some of these articles. Yo, gamer. By the way, you did end up running into a significant other, did you, yesterday? You don't owe me $1 million right now, do you? You wouldn't tell me if you did. Skyrim may shed light on the Elder Scrolls 6 release date. What? We saw this yesterday as well during the Nintendo showcase. Guys, so much news. All right, let's hop in this. Yo, I'm going to fill my coffee up real quick. I'm sorry. I need more coffee this morning. Hold on. 1 minute. To what? No, not even looking. Don't lie to me, man. I need that money, dude. Uh, Fantasy Flight Games founder Christian Peterson creates a new game studio, purchases Keyforge from Asmodee. Asmodee has sold the Keyforge card game and intellectual property rights to a new company managed by Christian Peterson, the founder of Fantasy Flight Games. The dormant card game will now be owned by Ghost Galaxy Incorporated, a new company founded by Peterson that is developing a next-gen software engine for developing procedurally generated card games similar to the system that generated Keyforge's decks. Ghost Galaxy has also brought on several of the original principles involved with Keyforge's first run at Fantasy Flight Games. Ghost Galaxy says it will announce news about the future of Keyforge in the coming weeks. Keyforge was designed by Magic the Gathering creator Richard Garfield and was seen as an evolution of the collectible card game concept. Unfortunately, Keyforge went on an indefinite hiatus in 2021 due to unspecified issues with the underlying algorithm that generated new decks for the game. Fantasy Flight vowed that Keyforge would return eventually, but it had stayed silent about the game up until today's sale. Garfield endorsed the sale of Keyforge to Ghost Galaxy, saying in his statement, "I've enjoyed working with Fantasy Flight and Asmodee. They really put their heart into Keyforge and did an amazing job bringing it to life. It has been disappointing that events conspired to shut it down for so long. It is a delight to see the game now go to a new steward, Ghost Galaxy, and in fact, the very person I pitched it to, Christian Peterson. We have similar visions for what is possible to Keyforge, and I think we'll be able to do great things." Okay, we'll see what comes of that. Cool. It is crazy out there, no doubt about it. ARM's Immortalis GPU is its first with hardware ray tracing for Android gaming. Really? ARM is announcing its new flagship Immortalis GPU today. It's first to include hardware-based ray tracing on mobile. As PCs and the latest Xbox Series X and PS5 consoles are all gradually moving towards impressive ray tracing visuals, Immortalis G715 is designed to be the ARM's first GPU to deliver the same on Android phones and tablets. Built on top of Mali, a GPU that's used by the likes of MediaTek and Samsung, Immortalis is designed with 10 to 16 cores in mind and promises a boost of up 15% over the previous gen premium Mali GPUs. ARM is already delivering software-based ray tracing in last year's Mali G710, but the promise of hardware support means we will start to see flagship smartphones with this chip at the beginning of 2023. Samsung also announced its Exynos 2200 chip with hardware-based ray tracing earlier this year, so manufacturers are getting ready for the games to arrive. Should see some interesting experiences on mobile over the next year or so. ARM is also updated to its main Mali line with the Mali G715. This GPU includes variable rate shading to boost gaming performance and energy savings on mobile. VRS essentially renders the parts of a scene in a game that require more detail, so details in the background don't need as much rendering power. When enabling variable rate shading on gaming content, we have seen improvements of up to 40% on frames per second. Other improvements mean these latest ARM GPUs will see a 15% energy efficiency improvement over its previous Mali G710 GPU that was introduced last year. ARM also shared a chunk of its roadmap, which you can view above, suggesting it'll follow up Immortalis with a flagship Titan GPU in 2023 and Crake in 2024. ARM declined to tell us if Titan or Crake will expand ray tracing support, though. So there you go. Epic Games is putting its support behind Immortalis with its Unreal Engine alongside MediaTek and Unity. This is the type of industry support you'd expect for a new mobile GPU like this, but the real test will be how many mobile game developers start implementing ray tracing. It's still incredibly rare to see ray tracing on console games, so it's unlikely we'll see a flood of mobile games moving to ray tracing anytime soon. Yeah. Yo, gamer. All right, man. Yo, thanks for being here, buddy. As always, you too, my friend. Yeah, take care, dude. We'll see you later, okay? Have a good day at work, man. Have a good day. Thanks for being here, buddy. We have seen where already certain AAA games are definitely making their way over to like a streaming kind of mobile realm. So while many of those AAA games are older AAA games, not like super old or anything, but a few years old or whatever, and they don't necessarily have ray tracing, games that do have ray tracing could be making their way over to like streaming mobile realm before too long, and so ray tracing could be a part of mobile titles in the near future. So, um, I mean, if they can incorporate it, they're going to, right? This is the evolution of technology. First, you're going to see it on bigger platforms, consoles, PCs, and then it's going to come down to the mobile sector, stuff like that. So this is just the way technology works, right? So it's good. More energy efficient, won't heat up as much, better technology within the chips, things like that. And mobile gaming, whether you're a fan of it or not, I don't partake in a whole lot of mobile gaming myself, but it's very, very popular, especially in the eastern hemisphere of the world, right? Eastern part of the world. So there you go. That's tech news. Um, Chinese video gaming billionaire plans relocation with family abroad after draconian Shanghai lockdown. XD co founder and chief executive Huang Yiming has told colleagues that he is making preps to move out of China. A rising number of Chinese middle class families are contemplating relocating to escape strict COVID 19 control measures. Is that all it is? COVID 19 control measures? So, look, where, where's everybody going, okay? Because let's just be frank here. Look, hi, I'm Frank. People aren't just leaving China because of strict COVID measures, okay? There's a lot to do there about what's going on with their government. Sounds familiar to me with the country I live in, where I have heard all kinds of people talking about leaving this country as well. So, are all these people that are not happy with these massive countries and the way their government is handling things just gonna move together somewhere and form a new power? What's going on, dude? I don't know. It's wild though, isn't it? It's a weird time in the world. I mean, specifically in the gaming world, though, you know, you've seen China for sure. Dude, look at this stuff: Game Boy Color, Nintendo 64. Dude, this is awesome. Sorry, I got off track there. So many pretty things on the shelves. The China has absolutely gotten very, 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 very strict regulating the gaming industry over there. And this is not the first article we've read where people, corporations, developers, publisher, you name it, anybody that has anything to do with the gaming industry over there has basically made it known that they're looking to um, move their way out of China and into some other country to start doing their work. That way, they're not regulated according to what China's trying to do there. It's just that's what everybody that is mainly located within China in the gaming world right now. That's what they're looking to do. Huang Yiming, the billionaire co-founder of one of China's largest video game companies, relocating. Yeah, Huang 40 said in an internal memo seen by employees of XD that the move will take place after the next summer break without disclosing his destination. He will be traveling for several weeks from Wednesday onwards to make preliminary preparations for the relocation. Hush. Uh, Making U.S. a priority in its overseas expansion drive as home market becomes increasingly difficult to navigate. Uh huh. Yeah, eyeing the U.S. as it accelerates its global expansion. Plan to reach U.S. players is a key part of the Shanghai-based company strategy to turn a profit as early as next year, said Senior Vice President Zheng Jing in an interview with South China Morning News. The U.S. market, where players have a quote better understanding of games, will serve as a testing ground for the overseas expansion. The idea of venturing abroad, notably the US, has become popular among Chinese game developers as the home market is becoming increasingly hard to navigate amid strict licensing ruthless censorship of gaming content, and fierce competition. NetEase, China's number 2 gaming company, said over the weekend that the launch of a highly anticipated title, Diablo Immortal, in China was postponed indefinitely, while ByteDance and XD Investor has dismissed a major game studio in Shanghai. For game studios like XD, it is getting harder to get a green light from Beijing to launch new titles at home. After an 8-month suspension, China resumed issuing game licenses in April, but that was only 45, and there's only been 60 since then. One of which was granted to XD's fighting game Flash Party. This is a long article, guys. We've got a lot to get through this morning. Ultimately, look, we kind of hit on it here. But this is just go away. If you want to read all of this, I'm going to throw it in chat, okay? The big takeaway here is what we've already seen quite often regarding the gaming industry in China is that China's government seems very, very opposed to much of what is going on within video games. Not a fan. From regulating the amount of time people under the age of 18 can actually spend playing games to regulating companies' abilities to release games from developers within China. I mean, it's across the board. They're heavily regulating content. I mean, you name it. They're doing whatever they can to try to prevent the gaming industry from thriving within that country. And the developers, publishers, what have you, anybody that really has anything to do with development of games within that country, they're looking for a way out. A new Marvel game reportedly in the works at EA. A new report has claimed that a video game associated with Marvel is currently in the works at publisher Electronic Arts. Blech. Sorry. It's like a reflex. In recent years, Marvel Games has been pushing hard to create a number of different titles associated with its many iconic characters. Games like Marvel's Spider-Man, Marvel's Avengers, and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy are just a handful of projects tied to the comic book brand that have come about lately. And while we already know about a couple of other titles related to Marvel that are now in development, EA... Oh, sorry. Is said to be making a game in this world as well. According to a game industry insider Nick Baker, EA... Oh, gosh. Is in the process of creating a title associated with Marvel at this very moment. Shared on the Xbox Era podcast, Baker said that an anonymous source tipped him off about the project's existence. Sadly, Baker didn't say anything else about the game and wouldn't tease which character or teams the game could be associated with. It also wasn't said which studio within EA... Oh, man. I don't know if I'll be able to finish reading this. Might be working on this title. In a general sense, this wouldn't be a surprising collaboration to see come about whatsoever. Marvel Games has shown throughout the past couple of years that it's willing to work with a large number of video game publishers, ranging from PlayStation, 2K Games, Square Enix, and more. I'm just going to quit reading their name. I can't. Given that that company is one of the biggest game publishers in the world, shouldn't be shocking to see them land a deal with Marvel to develop a title associated with the brand and probably watch it be an absolute piece of crap. As mentioned, we already know about a large number of Marvel projects that are currently slated to release in the future. Midnight Suns, Wolverine, Spider-Man 2, all games that have been formally announced and will be released in the coming years. Outside of this, Skydance New Media and its creative director Amy Hennig revealed in late 2021 to be developing a title tied to Marvel as well. Assuming that this new report is accurate and the company, which we do not speak their name, has a Marvel project in the pipeline as well. It would only further verify that the coming years will be quite massive for Marvel with the gaming medium. Okay. Well, that was fun. This game is Outlast with guns. We've needed a new horror game experience, and Phobia. Dude, there's so many horror games. Not only are there so many horror games now, dude, the showcases this summer were just filled with horror titles. And we know we've even got more coming, you know, like a Dead Space remake. We've got so many coming, man. Scorn's coming out. We've got we know, dude. We know that we're getting new oh, why am I tripping right now? Silent Hill games. You know what I mean? Uh, Crazy. But I mean, horror genre is cool. So, uh, but to say we've needed a new horror game, I don't know. Do we ever not need a new horror game? I guess. Meh. Saint Dinfa Hotel could be what we've been waiting for. To be honest, Outlast was pretty fun, right? The fear of being caught around every corner, figuring out what was happening at the haunted asylum. All of it was exciting and invigorating, but there was always something missing that was the aspect of protecting oneself. Not even a piece of wood could be picked up to whack one of the weirdos across the face, which, if we are honest and in that situation, we would definitely and totally do, right? So, Maximum Games, who have published Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, has decided to publish Polxatix's Homage to Outlast Phobia. This game is going to be a horror game similar to Outlast. You'll also be an investigative journalist setting foot in a dangerous and forgotten space. You'll have to find out what is going on within the haunted walls of this once vibrant hotel. Or was it always forgotten and destroyed? This game is an homage to Outlast, so like the original game, you've got spooky enemies that look like they belong in an H.P. Lovecraft novel rather than a video game. While the hotel changes around you, you encounter enemies and have to try to solve puzzles while under pressure. Honestly, your heartbeat will rise when playing this game, just like Outlast did all those years ago. Biggest difference to Outlast, uh, when you're feeling like you cannot go on any longer, you'll be able to choose a gun to protect yourself. So that's the biggest thing. Cool. We'll have to keep track. Is it on Steam? Yeah. Wait, it's out? Dude, it released yesterday. This released yesterday. I know I have the sound off. Oh, the thing was gonna like rip her foot off. Was that Alma? Oh, that looks fun. Put your fist in it. Okay, phobia. Word. Love some horror games, man. Positive so far, 96%. Cool. All right. Yeah, let's that's cool. Cool to find out about games we weren't aware of, man. That's for sure. Nice. Neat. Nice. There we go. Again, quite often if we watch trailers during the news segment, I won't leave the volume on because quite often I'll have to cut out the music and everything from them anyways, and it's just easier just to keep them muted for the news segment for being uploaded to the YouTube later and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, that looked pretty neat, huh? Yeah, the reviews right now for it are good too. It's pretty cool. Last of Us Part One features revealed. We know it's coming to PS5. Yeah, Enhanced visuals, fast loading, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, 3D audio. On September 2nd. There you go. Cult classic PS1 game getting new remake. What are we talking about here? A fan favorite PS1 game that first released near the turn of the century is getting a new remake for current gen platforms in just a few short months. In a general sense, a number of different games that originally launched on the first PS console have been making a return in recent months. And while most of this revival has been thanks to Sony's new version of PlayStation Plus, which features classic PS1 titles, one publisher has opted to instead go down the remake route in 2022. Oh, yeah, we saw this, dude. Yeah. Bandai Namco revealed that it will be remaking Pac-Man World, the 3D platformer starring the titular video game character. We saw it yesterday. For the remake, so this was actually shown yesterday during the Nintendo Direct Showcase. Bandai Namco is dubbing this version of the title Pac-Man World Repack. Yep. We saw it yesterday during the showcase. I would say, again, if you want to get a look, pull up yesterday's Nintendo showcase. All right, it can be found at either their Twitch site or their YouTube site, and you'll get a look at all those games we kind of saw yesterday. We watched it live, and it was a pretty good showcase. It was pretty good. War of Mine is being taught at Polish schools. This is a cool game. And this is a Ukrainian developer, by the way, as well. 11-bit. And they took all of their profits for like a long time from when the war first started over there. For all the profits from that came from this game went directly to the war efforts over there on behalf of Ukraine. Did you ever think as a kid that video games could be a useful teaching aid during school? Poland seems to think so, as a government website is encouraging its high school teachers to teach this War of Mine to their students. It's being proposed as a supplementary reading with a free game download. Informational brochure, scenario, and launch instructions provided for prospective teachers. The launch instructions introduces the game and how it doesn't include a tutorial because in a real war, nobody tells people what to do to survive. It then goes on to show teachers how to launch the game, choose the right version of the game, and how to launch the provided story. It's fairly basic, but there's still a lot of people who haven't played a video game before, as heretical as it may sound on here. Yeah. The informational brochure is 56 pages long, includes 6 chapters, a foreword, how to work a video game into a lesson, and a Polish language lesson scenario, a society lesson scenario, an ethics lesson scenario, and notes from the authors. The Polish language lesson scenario compares the diary of the Warsaw Uprising with the game. The society lessons uses this War of Mine as a springboard for discussion about human rights and the realities of armed conflicts, which should hopefully be a great starting point for what could be a very useful lesson. The ethics lesson asks teachers to query their students on how video games as a medium could shape empathetic attitudes. Yeah, this is a good lesson base, as it's something we've seen for close to a century in movies and TV shows and thousands of years in performative arts. The interactive medium can help push these some, and it's very relevant in 2022 with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. Yo, that's actually really cool. That's really neat. Gotham Knights reveals new Robin gameplay video. Developer WB Games Montreal has revealed a new gameplay video dedicated entirely to the playable character Robin. Within recent weeks, we finally started to see more of the upcoming Batman game thanks to some new character-specific trailers that have started to emerge. Now, the second such video in this style has been let loose to better highlight one of the game's 4 playable protagonists. This new trailer for Gotham Knights lasts a little under 2 minutes and better highlights many of the tools and abilities that Robin will have at his disposal in the game. As expected, many of Robin's attacks center around his iconic bow staff, which can be used to dispatch foes in a number of ways. He also has the ability to teleport short distances in Gotham Knights, which is something that he can do thanks to technology from the Justice League. Lets him get the drop on baddies in ways they wouldn't anticipate. See what we got here, Robin. I feel like Robin looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. You know, he's often portrayed as like very kiddish and stuff like that, you know, and he looks good, dude. He definitely got some lessons from Batman, yeah. I mean, he's definitely still youthful. You can tell that he's got his youth about him still. You know what I mean? But he's past that like kid stage. You know, he's matured a bit. He's grown up a little bit. Pretty good with a bow staff. His outfit looks good, man. I like it. It looks different in different parts of these scenes though, which I'm guessing has to do with like upgrading and stuff in the game, maybe? Maybe? Cool. The only character that we have yet to see a lot of is Batgirl. Let's go, Batgirl. Slated to release later this year on October 25th. Will be coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Cool. Go. Skyrim may shed light on the Elder Scrolls 6 release date. Bethesda has yet to reveal a release date or even a release window for the Elder Scrolls 6. That said, using Skyrim and other previous Bethesda Game Studios games like Fallout 4, we may be able to give you an unofficial release window. And using these games as reference and nothing else, it would point towards a 2026 or 2027 release for Elder Scrolls 6. This is all just like throwing darts, man. Yeah, it's just speculating. They're just throwing darts. I'm not diving into that. I get so sick of that kind of stuff. They're like, well, they released this game at this date, and then this game came out. They released, and it took them this long to get it here. So now they're releasing, this game, which means that Elder Scrolls should come out at this time. Stop, dude. Just stop. Bring us some real news. Sony is launching gaming gear aimed at PC players. The company's new in-zone monitors and headsets are also compatible with PS5. Okay, so we had read about this stuff coming out. Originally, it seemed like it was just kind of being promoted as PS5 gear. But apparently, this is also going to be for PC stuff. New gaming gear line called InZone, which it says is aimed primarily at PC players. Unveiled during a media event on Tuesday, the InZone line includes several gaming monitors and headsets, although Sony describes InZone as a brand for PC gamers. First gear announced is also compatible with PS5 and presumably other consoles. Aesthetically, the monitors and headsets are also designed to blend in with PS5, according to Sony. Sony's flagship InZone M9 monitor, which will release this summer for $900, offers 4K HDR, 144 hertz refresh rate, variable refresh rate tech. What size is it? We just read about basically the same exact monitor from ViewSonic, or a very similar monitor from ViewSonic yesterday. It's like $350. 4K, 144 hertz refresh. I'm pretty sure it had variable refresh rate. It was a 27-incher though. I don't know how big this one is. The cheaper M3 offers 1080p at 240 hertz. Sony products are expensive usually though. For PS5 users, the M9 monitor provides auto HDR tone mapping, which allows consoles to automatically optimize HDR settings. Will automatically switch to cinema mode when watching movies and game mode when playing games. Headsets range from $300 to $100 with premium H9 offering noise canceling, 360 spatial sound, and 32 hours of battery life. The $230 H7 lacks noise canceling but extends battery life to 40 hours, while the cheapest H3 is wired. H9 and H7 include on-screen indication on PS5, come with gaming and chat balance, and work with Tempest 3D audio tech. We are not saying we are not focusing on PS5 users, but because we are latecomers to the monitors and headphones for the gaming segment, we believe we have a chance to catch up. I believe if top players from top companies mention, oh, Sony's Endzone is great, we can catch up. PC gaming gear launch is yet another signal that Sony is serious about pushing into the PC gaming space, which they're doing with their games as well, right? I mean, they've needed to do this for a long time across the board. Yeah, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan said during a business briefing last month that Sony expects half of its annual releases to be on PC and mobile by 2025. Yeah. Yep. So they're pushing. What I want to see from Sony is their console games, their proprietary, get released on PC at the same time. That's what I want. Wizard Royale Spellbreak is shutting down next year. Despite trying to defy genre norms, it failed to stand out in a sea of big names. Yeah. The game attempted to offer a twist on the traditional Battle Royale, which so many tried to do, swapping guns for gauntlets that put the power of the various elements at your fingertips. Had a favorable launch on the Epic Game Store, garnering a tidy 5 million players in its first 3 weeks. Chris Livingston spent a fair bit of time with the game back then, finding a lot of fun in its fast-paced movement and combat. Unfortunately, it failed to maintain its early momentum, though it eventually climbed to 10 million players across all platforms. Player count and support dwindled. Steam launch ended its Epic exclusivity in December 2020, didn't provide much of a boost. Game's gone without an update since September of last year. Now has said the game will cast its final spell sometime in early 2023. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, unfortunately, the game industry is a difficult business. CEO Seth Civic wrote in a Reddit post, Spellbreak was not able to break through and reach a sustainable place where we could continue to invest in the way we had dreamed of. We picked a hard path as an independent studio and decided to compete with some of the biggest names in the world. While we could not get the escape velocity needed, I do not regret the bold decisions we made in bringing Spellbreak to life. While this is goodbye for Spellbreak, I cannot thank this community enough for the support and help along the way. Spellbreak transformed our studio and touched the lives of so many. So again, thank you. There's no exact end date for Spellbreak yet. Any currency already obtained or bought can be spent in the shop, but real money purchases have now been disabled. Well, that's the way things go, right? It was successful for an amount of time, which is better than nothing. Yeah. As a developer of games, that's all you could really ask for. Ultimately, what you would like to see is a game be successful for a very, very, very long time. But that's just not always the case. And as long as you're able to release your title, get it out there in front of people so they can see your passion project, the blood, sweat, and tears, as it were, that you're able to put into that project, and let people enjoy it, for an amount of time, and it be fairly successful, then, man, I feel like that's a win, right? That's a win. There are so many games out there that fell. So many games out there that fell. I mean, let's not kid ourselves, right? The gaming industry is very, very saturated, and it's only becoming more and more saturated with titles. So if something is moderately successful, that's a win, man. And if it allows a development studio to continue to work on and produce more games in the future, while I know that anytime a game that has been a passion project and you've put time and effort into, going away is going to feel bad. If it's been any form of success, and success can be definitely counted in different ways, right? Lessons learned, things like that. But especially if it's been profitable to an extent to allow you to continue to make new games in the future and continue to do what you love, then what more could you ask for? Kingdom Hearts fans decry shush cloud versions again after Nier Automata gets a full Switch port. Fans are frustrated with Square Enix for fully porting one of its IPs and only releasing cloud versions of another. I haven't been a huge fan of Square for quite a while at this point. And I'm not even a fan of I know that the oh dude, sorry, eyelash. I know the Kingdom Hearts games are supposed to be very good. They don't appeal to me. The Disney stuff is just not my jam, man. I love Final Fantasy. I love it. It is it's my favorite all time series. Um, Not that I love every single Final Fantasy game, but it's a huge part of who I am as a gamer. I still own the first cartridge. I own Final Fantasy One on Nintendo. Um, I own Final Fantasy Seven on PS1. That's my favorite game of all time. And but Square, man, God, they just do so much stuff that just feels bad nowadays. Um, and now they're getting kind of slammed again. Um, I think it's good that Near Automata is getting a Switch port. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, it does feel like if like the full release of the Kingdom Hearts games could have been a good deal. Yeah, there are a lot of fans of the Kingdom Hearts series, so I don't know. I mean, the glass is half full though. I mean, they are out there on the cloud, right? So I don't know. Kingdom Hearts fans are mourning the handheld collection they could have had after Square Enix announced a full Nintendo Switch port for Nier Automata. During yesterday's Nintendo Direct Mini, it was revealed that Square Enix action RPG Nier Automata is getting a full Nintendo Switch port. Although great news for those who want to take 2B's post-apocalyptic adventure on the go, some Kingdom Hearts fans can't help but feel a bit bitter after Square Enix only released cloud versions of the Disney-themed RPG to the Nintendo console earlier this year. The biggest gripe fans have with Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece Collection for Nintendo Switch is that generally the games don't perform very well in the system. That's where it feels bad. I didn't know that. Square is terrible about this. Square is terrible about bad ports and not fixing things on the bad ports. In fact, the collection's release day, Square Enix had to put out a day one patch, as some players couldn't even access the titles due to a bug that prevented the games from launching upon start. Not only this, but the fact that Nintendo Switch has to be connected to the internet in order for players to even gain access to the cloud versions of the games kind of defeats the purpose of having the Kingdom Hearts series on a handheld. Yeah, for real. Therefore, transportable console. Dude, yeah, that feels terrible. Following yesterday's announcement, the Kingdom Hearts subreddit is now populated with a variety of memes, which in one way or another pokes fun at Square Enix's preferential treatment of Nier Automata. Of course, you could argue that it's a lot more work to port all 10 games in the Integrum Masterpiece Collection than the one near Autumn of Game, but as many fans have pointed out, a lot of the games in the collection were originally PS2 and Nintendo DS games. Oh, this is great, dude. I love memes. So good. Uh, Twitter shows much of the same vibe with Twitter users such as Momo. What is this supposed to be? Pokemon 95? I don't know. I have every reason to be mad that Nier gets to be on the Switch physically and digitally with no cloud version, while Kingdom Hearts only gets cloud version. Unacceptable. Yeah, people are heated. Here's hoping that Square Enix decides to fully port the entire Kingdom Hearts series on Nintendo Switch eventually. Maybe it'll even be done before Kingdom Hearts 4 releases. You're never going to make everybody happy, but Square Enix does make some very, very terrible ports. It's like they have no kind of like quality assurance team or anything. It's terrible. Xbox's games boss reportedly and a game like for especially a console that's known to be like one of the big selling points of a Switch is that it's handheld, right? Uh, it's such a great console because it's like a dual threat, right? It's a traditional as well as a handheld, um, but it's great because it is a handheld. It's an on the go console as well, and you want to be able to play games like on the go and Kingdom Hearts is an offline game. It's a single player game. Why do you want to have to be connected to the internet to play a game like that? That sucks, dude. Yeah, port them over like full versions. It's so stupid. Matt Booty says he's confident that reports about Fallout 76 crunch are a thing of the past. The head of Xbox Game Studio has claimed that Bethesda no longer has a crunch culture, it's been reported. According to Kotaku, Matt Booty held a Q&A during a company-wide meeting last week, during which he addressed the topic of labor conditions at Bethesda and its parent company, ZeniMax Media. Booty was asked to discuss the previous Kotaku report, which claimed there was a heavy degree of crunch during the making of Fallout 76, which was released a number of years before Xbox acquired Bethesda in 2021. Quote, the challenge with a lot of these articles is that they look backwards, sometimes pretty far back in time, Booty reportedly said during the meeting, according to Kotaku, which claims to have seen a video recording. Booty reportedly claimed that crunch culture was just part of the industry. Adding, I don't say that to justify it. I'm just saying it was part of the culture of the industry. I literally slept under my desk early in my career, and we looked at it like a badge of honor. However, he also claimed that those days were gone under Xbox, stating, I know from talking to Bethesda leadership that we do not have a situation where people are crunching and we've got this bullying atmosphere. I'm confident about that. But he reportedly added that there was, of course, the possibility that crunch was going without him knowing about it, and urged employees to follow Xbox's internal processes, including the ability to give anonymous feedback to ensure any issues are resolved. Um, I would say there is no doubt about the fact that we know specifically within the gaming industry there was terrible stuff going on um, throughout many of the gaming you know dev studios culture wise, right? Crunch culture being one of them. It's absolutely not justifiable. It definitely was something that was rampantly happening throughout the industry. It is not justifiable. It was terrible work conditions. And that is why we are now seeing all kinds of information coming out about these big developers. They are being sued on the constant. They are having unions pop up everywhere because it's finally coming to a head, right? As it should. Terrible work conditions, toxic work culture, you name it. 2019, Akumi Nakamura, who was Ghostwire Tokyo creative director at the time, left ZeniMax owned Tango Gameworks because the pressure of her working life there was negatively impacting her health. Bethesda's latest titles, Starfield and Redfall, were both set to be released later this year. In a statement last month, however, the Xbox-owned publisher announced that it needed more time to develop the games, delaying them to 2023. Look, we say this all the time. You know, if you're anticipating a game, it has a potential release date, and that date gets pushed back. Does it feel a little bit rough? Sometimes. But passionate gamers understand, and at this point, experienced gamers know that we would much rather, and we talk about this a lot, we would much rather a game get pushed back, come out as a solid experience for us. It's not that we expect any game to not have its bugs. Every game is going to have some bugs, but push a game back, delay it if it needs it, give us a great experience, right? Rather than trying to hit these dates that make us feel, like we got scammed out of our money, hyping up a game, having us buy it, and then giving us a piece of trash, Xbox games with gold for July's lineup delivers Torchlight again. We got the 2011 Dungeon Crawler on Games with Gold in August 2019. Queen. Is that really you? Queen, what's up? How are you? Uh, 4 more games are available for Xbox Live Gold Game Pass subscribers in July. Torchlight, the 11-year-old hack and slash dungeon crawler, Thrillville, Off the Rails, an even older amusement park simulator for consoles, and 2 obscure puzzlers for Xbox One. You're good? Good. What's up, my friend? How was your weekend? Torchlight was earlier offered on Xbox Live Games with Gold in August 2019. Beasts of Maravilla Island and Relicta are available for Xbox One and playable on Xbox Series X. Thrillville, Off the Rails, and Torchlight are Xbox 360 games, playable on both Xbox One and Series X with backward compatibility. No, you're okay. I knew that you were going to be away for a little while. You told me. How is everything? You good? In addition to these games, subscribers can still get 2 of June's games with gold, Rascals for Xbox 360 and Avon Colony for Xbox One until Thursday, June 30th. There you go. There was a lot of news this morning. We're getting there, though. It's good to see you, Queen. You don't have any reason, any need to apologize, my friend. Zoe AI is the next Steam Deck competitor powered by AMD 6800U. We're guessing this one won't be particularly cheap either. There are plenty of Steam Deck competitors vying for your portable purchase. One that's about to enter the market is the AOK Zoe AI, which packs an AMD Ryzen 7 6800U into the popular Switch-like form factor. This is working with the integrated Radeon 680M graphics and some of the sweet next-gen LPDDR5 RAM. It's an interesting package. It makes for a strong AMD-powered mobile contender to the market. Looks like the AMD machine from last year might be in for some competition. Can run Windows 11 or SteamOS. Gives users the choice between which platform they want to game on or potentially do other tasks. Given tons of games are now working on the Steam Deck, Windows isn't necessarily the obvious choice anymore. A few videos out there available of the unit running games, but these are all put out by the manufacturer themselves, so should be taken with a grain of salt. They are impressive with titles like Elden Ring looking to run very well in the machine. hopefully we'll get our hands on one of these units later to do our own tests and let you know what we think. They say the biggest question with all these machines after confirming that they work is always the price, and right now, this device isn't telling. The official Steam Deck is surprisingly reasonably priced machine, giving its niche status and power. However, most of the alternatives we've seen aren't anything but cheap. Um, that would not be my biggest question. Here's my thing. Valve has at least been producing hardware for a very long time. They are reputable. They produce good hardware. They have also done a very good job, from everything that we have read, about making it a very nice device for you to be able to change out any kind of malfunctioning joysticks or buttons. You can open it up without voiding the warranty. You can put all kinds of different software on it. It's a great device, the Steam Deck is, and it's very affordable for what it is as well. Whereas these other devices, while again, big question, how much is it going to cost in regards to what it gives you for what the Steam Deck gives you at relatively the same level of technology. But can you trust the quality of that tech? Okay, be very very diligent. I would say if you're looking at buying something comparable to the Steam Deck, do your research on that company, what that hardware can provide you as far as manufacturer quality, their customer service, if anything goes wrong, things like that. Because we already know that the Steam Deck is a very, very, very customer friendly piece of hardware. Whereas a lot of these other manufacturers might promote their stuff as being the same way, but when it comes down to it, most places are not great about that kind of stuff, okay? So be very careful. Total War Warhammer 3 is shaking things up with the Immortal Empires map and starting positions. At the release of Immortal Empires for Total War Warhammer 3 draws near, Creative Assembly has been slowly revealing more info about the free DLC campaign, presenting an epic free-for-all war for domination. There was the beta version of its map, which will be the biggest in any Total War, roughly twice the size of Warhammer 2's Immortal Empires map. It'll need to be, since it has to have room for almost 100 more starting factions. Mortal Empires had 183. Immortal Empires will have around 278, subject to change during the beta, and 12 more legendary lords. As of the latest blog, we know where some of these lords will begin their wars for domination. The implication is that rooms being made at the top end of the map for future editions, as well as characters from the first game, will also make Immortal Empires feel meaningfully different from the default Realm of Chaos campaign, with characters getting to test themselves against new threats. The Badlands, traditionally a slightly boring arena home to just orcs and dwarves, should be revitalized by having the Wrathful Reaper Scar brand dropped slap in the middle of it. Starting positions for other factions will continue being revealed by Creative Assembly, one per day over the next 17 days, as confirmed on Reddit. The beta of Immortal Empires will arrive in August. I skipped a little bit of info there, detailing like some specifics, because we're getting a bit drawn out here into the news segment. I need to move on, but there it is in chat if you're interested. Okay, Steam's most wish listed. Yes, Total Warhammer. Yeah, Tinwin. I was actually thinking about you. I didn't know if you were around, dude. There it is in chat right there, man. Yep, just hit on it. Yep. I was thinking about you as I was reading it, man. The news segment's getting a bit long-winded today, though, so I need to move on. I didn't read everything, but there it is in chat, dude. Yep. I know you're our resident Total War Warhammer guru, so do you have anything to add? Steam's most wishlisted game admits to using some volunteer workers. Fantastic has come over. Yeah, I knew you played it a bit. How are you, buddy? How you doing? Fantastic has come under fire for using unpaid labor to help develop The Day Before, one of the most anticipated games on Steam. Yeah, okay. Prop Night developer Fantastic recently came under fire for putting out a call for volunteers to help it finish work. I'm sure we'll probably see more of the Warhammer stuff as we get closer to that drop date stuff, and as the beta keeps moving on. So, putting out a call for volunteers to help it finish work on its next game, an open world survival MMO called The Day Before. The criticism was simple. Fantastic is an established developer, and The Day Before has the potential to be a major hit. It holds the top position on Steam's list of most wish list games. So why is the studio trying to avoid paying people for their work? Quote, there are two types of volunteers at Fantastic, full-time and part-time. Full-time volunteers work for salaries, and their number is limited. The Fantastic website states in its volunteers section. Wait. Okay, I'll keep going here. Hold on. Anyone can be a part-time volunteer to contribute to the Fantastic community and get cool rewards, participation certificates, and free codes. Part-time volunteering at Fantastic includes various activities ranging from translating to community moderating. Part-time volunteers can also offer their unique skills to improve our projects or create new special features. Rewards might be cool, but they're not a substitute for pay, and asking for unpaid help to create a game that Fantastic expects to make money on, potentially a lot of money, did not sit well with many of its followers. The title on this Steam discussion thread cuts right to the point. Don't work for free. In a statement shared with PC Gamer, Fantastic suggested that its intent was essentially lost in translation. Studio is a commercial operation, but also embraces the spirit of volunteerism and is basically opening the door for its fans too. Quote, today we have over 100 full-time internal volunteers, employees from Singapore, Russia, and the Netherlands, Thailand, Ukraine, Finland, Kazakhstan, and Belarus who work as engineers, artists, HR professionals, etc. That's what. Why are they being referred to as if? That's what was throwing me out. Like, full-time volunteers work for salaries. It's not a volunteer if they work for a salary. It's an employee, right? What? I don't understand what. And even right here, 100 full-time internal volunteers, and in parentheses, employees. What? We also have 40 external U.S. and worldwide volunteer supporters who help with testing and reviewing our product at a very early stage. For example, many people have offered their help in this week's testing of a new version of our game Prop Night, published by our partner Mytona. That's very confusing. More contentious is Fantastic's use of unpaid volunteers to help translate games into different languages. The studio said that in 2021 it used a well-known large studio to localize the sleeper hit Prop Night. The results were unsatisfactory and had to be redone with help from members of the community, who also found bugs, dealt with cheaters, and even organized our Discord communities. The games industry has a long history of taking advantage of fans for unpaid labor, particularly with regards to testing. You won't see my name in the credits of MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, for instance, but I was actively involved with beta testing its online component ahead of release. In more recent years, though, and with video games now well established as a multi-billion-dollar business, its practices have fallen under far greater scrutiny. Unionization at major studios is the big focus, but smaller organizations are not immune. In 2019, for instance, publisher Chucklefish faced criticism for taking advantage of unpaid fan labor during the development of the 2016 sci-fi game Starbound. Interestingly, similar complaints about the use of fan translations were also leveled against Hades developer Supergiant in 2021. In that case, though, it turned out the community translators were paid for their work. Still, it's very common for studios to involve fans in their development processes, particularly for testing. Blizzard has invited free help to test Overwatch 2, for instance, and fans are lining up to get in, but tasks like localization and community management are more explicitly work, with actual responsibilities attached. That complicates things. There are no doubt plenty of Fantastic followers who will jump at the chance to help out, but at what point are they being unfairly taken advantage of? Fantastic didn't indicate any intent to change its practices, but it did say that it intends to turn at least some of its unpaid volunteers into employees. Recently, see, that's what, like, it keeps referring, but right there, volunteers into employees. There's a big difference between somebody that's a volunteer and an employee. But they were referring to volunteers across the spectrum as like both unpaid and paid parts of its workforce, like, or I don't know, people that were helping with its development. Recently, one of our first volunteers from the Netherlands became a full-time internal volunteer employee, and more will be recruited. The day before I had been set to arrive this month, but Fantastic announced a significant delay in May, pushing it back to March 1st in 2023 in order to accommodate a switch to Unreal Engine 5. They need to use a different word than volunteer for people that are salaried. Those are paid employees, not volunteers. They work for that company. They're being paid for their work. They are not a volunteer. Volunteer, the literal definition of a person who freely offers to take part in an enterprise or undertake a task. Freely offer to do something. Free. That's the whole point in the word volunteer, is that you're offering to undertake a task free. You are a volunteer. Once maybe they've taken some of these people that were volunteers in the first place and they've turned them into salary-based employees, but they are no longer volunteers at that point, right? You're not a volunteer anymore. If you're taken on as an employee, if you're being paid, you're an employee now, right? You have a job. That's your job. You're not an employee anymore. There's a big difference between being a volunteer and being paid to do a job. That's a whole different thing. I don't know if it was the person writing that article that was, or if taking that out of context, or if it was actually the verbiage that was being given to them, that they were actually writing it that way. That was very, very weird. Here's the thing I'll say. If somebody has the time, they're passionate about trying to help a developer that they like work on a project, and they want to volunteer and do it, that's their prerogative, man. The difference being, right, if that developer starts trying to assign them tasks without the volunteer going, hey, how can I help? How can I help you? Right? If the developer starts going, oh, you're done? Do this now. Do this now. Do this now. Assigning them tasks, that turns them into an employee. Because then you're assigning them work, as opposed to a volunteer coming to the developer, the corporation, the business, and saying, hey, I would like to help you. I would like to be a part of this. How can I assist you? That is the difference, right? Between being a volunteer, trying to assist in a way that you're willing to devote your free time and being a part of the development of that game, and the studio taking advantage of somebody and saying, oh, you finished that? I need you to do this now. I need you to do this, because you are not a paid employee and they should not be assigning tasks. That is the big difference there. There's a stark contrast between the two. That's where they need to differentiate between what's going on there. Gaming leaker claims Bayonetta 3 is coming 28th of October. Silex Hunter 2, who leaks various gaming-related announcements on Twitter, is claiming that Platinum Games' long-awaited Bayonetta 3 will be released on the Nintendo Switch family of systems on Monday, 28th of October this year. The leaker previously stated that we are getting a mini direct this month and that the Persona games and Mario Rabbids Spark of Hope would feature, and they did. We saw it yesterday. Of course, this all materialized yesterday during the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. Plus, he has also leaked that other gaming-related information which has come true. We shall have to wait for the next proper Nintendo Direct to see if the rumor is correct. It is scheduled to be released sometime this year. Quite often, these individuals have a very good track record of being on par with their information, but take it with a grain of salt. This is not an official release date, right? But this is not something from the developer. This is not from Nintendo or anything like that. But probably a fairly good assumption that Bayonetta 3 will be coming out at the end of October around this date, okay? Intel's official ARC A380 gaming benchmark confirms it's on average 15% slower than a 3-year-old GPU. We saw about a week ago, we got some benchmarks coming in from China on Intel's GPU. Look, if you're not aware, Intel is pushing into the GPU market, right? Which is almost entirely owned by NVIDIA and AMD, right? GPUs, as far as discrete graphics cards are concerned, we're not talking about necessarily like mobile graphics stuff, mobile graphics chips, but discrete graphics cards, okay, that you'll see in like desktop computers, laptop computers, things like that. For the most part, is led by NVIDIA and AMD. Intel is working their way into this market. As I said before, anytime any kind of company wants, is trying to work their way into a market like this, we saw it with AMD when they tried to get into the CPU market. It took time, right? They were known as the budget CPU forever. They didn't produce to the same level as Intel did, but the price for performance was very good. So it was kind of the budget person's processor, if you will, for a very long time. Now, AMD's processors are very, very good performance-wise, and they're still very good price-wise. So it's not a surprise to me to see Intel's first graphics cards coming out to be not necessarily super, like hitting at the same level as like the 3000 series GTX cards or things like that. It's going to be a process, okay? Intel's first discrete graphics card, the ARC A380, has been released in China exclusively. It's a bit of a shame, but it has at least allowed Intel to stick its aim of getting the discrete ARC GPUs released early this year, even if it's just in a single region and only via its OEMs right now. The first benchmarks of their mainstream card came out with the first reviews out in China, but now Intel has provided us with its reviewer's guide containing far more benchmark numbers across a swath of games. Though it has to be said, you've always got to take official benchmark results with a pinch of salt, as they're generally going to be carried out under optimum conditions, yes, which can sometimes skew the results. That doesn't actually look to be the case here, as the numbers from Intel itself seem to match up pretty well when it's testing the same games as the Chinese reviewers. Okay. In short, that confirms that the fact that ARC A380 is behind both NVIDIA GTX 1650s and AMD RX 6400s when it comes to gaming performance. Considering the 1650 is 3-year-old mainstream GPU now, it wasn't considered that quick of a card even back at launch. The fact that Intel's kicked off its first real foray into discrete gaming GPU market with the A380 still looks kind of odd. Again, it's going to take them time, right? Um, this is kind of the way it goes. They're dipping their toes in, as it were, right? They're dipping their toes in. They're making sure they can produce something quality. And it'll ramp up. As long as they can see some kind of sustainability for them in competing with NVIDIA and AMD moving forward, they will continue to make better graphics cards. I don't see why not. As long as that is something that they're able to foresee for the future. Again, a lot of the Western world is still waiting to get their hands, so many other people can get, reviewers, studios, things like that can get benchmarking done on these new Intel graphics cards. Because right now, all we've gotten is Intel's benchmarks they've released and benchmarks from reviewers and things like that out of China. That's it. But from apparently everything we've gotten, they're lining up fairly closely from the Chinese reviewers and Intel themselves. So it's nothing significant, but it shows us that Intel is really pushing their way into that market. Okay. I'm going to news is long this morning. I held this from yesterday till today, so we're going to read this. Okay. We had to hold off on this article from yesterday because we needed to get into the Nintendo Direct, but this is a pretty wild little story, I think. Jason Brazard spent his lifetime collecting the rarest video games until the heist. I'm going to read through this. This will be the last article for today. If anybody hanging out has anything they'd like to add, bring up that maybe we haven't hit on today or previously in our news segments, then please let me know in chat, and I'll try to hit on it before we move on to our gameplay for today. Planescape Torment Day 8, yeah. But I'm going to hit on this, and then we'll wrap up the news segment, okay? He tries his best to forget about the save, but when he has a few free minutes and is cleaning the pins of old Nintendo cartridges with rubbing alcohol and Q-tips, little piece of him dies every time he thinks about how he could have been so naive. When he ran the place, he would man the counter from a swivel chair next to the cash register, a can of Diet Coke by the keyboard of his desktop computer, his palms at the edge of a Super Mario World mousepad. He aligned his sleeves with Pokemon and Pac-Man figures, Sonic the Hedgehog plushies, t-shirts, and stickers with the store's logo, dog-eared stacks of Game Pro and Nintendo Power, and a feng shui of other games. Drawers nested all sorts of controllers smothered in black cords, till he was forced to sully the store by putting gel bars on the windows, installing security cameras out front. Trade and games had been light-hearted in spirit and charming in its accentuations. He'd wanted customers to experience what it had been like to be part of the video game generation that had discovered Nintendo and Sega. He had wished to replicate for people that feeling that usually disappears when they settle into adulthood. There's a great buys bargain bin and a giant glass collector's case. A placard above the employee gate by the desk reads, "Nintendo repair available here." The as seen on YouTube sign he'd taken down. He'd had a kind of philanthropic hubris as an owner and collector, someone who had never given a second thought to keeping his legendary game collection a secret. He'd gladly let YouTubers film in the back. He would even open the safe back there and show them, item by item. Other collectors had rare games, sure, but in the back room of his store, and especially in the safe, he was proud to own 10,000 of what he described as cherry copies. His preferred term for virgin condition. The cardboard on his Super Nintendo games was still crispy, as collectors like to say. His Sega Genesis and Master System games were as pristine in their clamshells as if they'd been hanging from the racks at KB Toys. Dude. Nothing about the store's appearance alluded to the miracle of his collection. It was just a single-story former laundromat with a workaday sign. He'd had the idea to paint Mario and Luigi so big anyone could see them from the main road beyond the parking lot in an antiquated strip mall. The die-hard salon on one side and Murphy's Good Eats Diner on the other, trading games, this pixelated utopia in a suburb of St. Louis had turned out exactly how he'd imagined it more than 20 years ago. The exception to his vision took the form of these scarred tracks of dolly wheels leading from the back of the store across the blue carpet, crushed into permanence by a 700-pound safe dragged out the door in the middle of the night. Jason Broussard was racing 100 miles per hour to trading games around 4:30 in the morning on August 16th in 2019. A 38 caliber pistol by the cup holder in his truck. The trip was 3 miles from his condo in High Ridge, a commute that usually allowed an opportunity for his thoughts to drift. Work with video games never being something to cause him stress, but he was terrified now. His hand pressed into the car horn to warn other drivers to stay away. A phone call had startled him awake. The Jefferson County Alarm Company telling him the front door of the store was open. He knew he would beat the police there, and he knew it'd be the newer games. He knew it'd be the newer games. He could feel it straight through 3 consecutive red lights, barely easing off the pedal. It'd be the games arranged on the most prominent rows inside the store. They'd take the PS4s and then the used Switch consoles and popular games like Skyrim, like Breath of the Wild, and Mario Kart 8. Who'd want to take anything else? He had an insurance policy, and he kept the register open and empty at night. And though the value of retro games had exploded in the past few years, he'd never been concerned about the safety of the thousands of games from his legendary collection, some of the most valuable video games on Earth. He'd kept this museum of his own making behind a metal vault door taped over with a Samus Aran poster from Metroid. The contents of the vault and the safe within it had made him famous to certain collectors who would geek out about him and want to see those YouTube video tours of everything he had. Games like Air Raid and Little Samson, The Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Fire on the 32X, pieces of what he considered history that collectors might describe as grails. Though the vault door didn't work then and was mainly for show, that anything behind it would be stolen seemed unimaginable. Generations of games had been lost to addicts, yard sales, and garbage bins, and enthusiasts like Broussard had become sentimental about finding and possessing them. A culture and then a market had bloomed around such wistful longings. It's fair to assume most humans have played a video game. The emotional capital of playing and loving a game 30 years ago is one of the reasons games that old have become desirable. In the summer of 2021, a sealed copy of the first print of Super Mario Bros. For the NES sold for $2 million at auction. A copy of The Legend of Zelda went for nearly $900,000. A pristine, never-opened copy of Super Mario 64 sold for $1.56 million. People started buying pieces of games, sharing them 1/100th of a title as an investment. The zone is much less like the techno hype surrounding NFTs and far more akin to fine art, but Broussard's collection was, in its own way, deeply non-fungible. That was Broussard. He could see the store as he came down the hill of Gravois Road. The faded bricks, Mario and Luigi, and the large Goomba sticker. The door was open. He parked the truck perpendicular to the front window, leaving the headlights shining in the store. A kick rest held the door in place. His work dolly, he noticed, was on the concrete. Its wheels flattened and its metal arms bent. 2 gouges in the asphalt from where it was pulled out of the store. Raked several feet and then discarded. The front window was broken, a cinder block marooned on the carpet inside. He got out of the truck, waving his gun and yelling, "Police!" The word echoing as he crossed the doorway, his shoes crunching on the glass. No one was in the store. The shelves looked fine. The collector's case was locked, and the contents still looked neatly arranged, priced to sell. Cash register was on the floor, though, and the dolly tracks went all the way to the vault door and into the back. The shelves seemed undisturbed, but his work desk was pushed aside, papers and documents strewn. There were unfamiliar tools on the desk, someone else's. It took him a moment to process an empty space by the wall, to figure out what the crowbar had been used for, or what someone had tried unsuccessfully to use it for, before they hauled off the safe anyway, still locked. The contents of the safe had taken him nearly 30 years to acquire. Few titles only a handful of people had ever seen. The safe itself had bought secondhand from a local real estate agent who was going out of business. Inside the safe, he had 120 games on 3 shelves, along with 19,000 in silver coins and bars and 10,000 in cash. He would only be able to claim around $100,000 as the value of the stolen games because the insurance adjuster would only use comparison prices from other sales. Hardly any of the games in the safe ever came up for sale in the decades he'd been collecting. The reality had him choking out tears in the dark. One of the owners told him, "You have insurance, don't involve me F off when Brizard called after seeing his stolen games for sale online. Dude, that sucks. Every single game that was in the safe was very deliberate. I had ultimate copies of those games. I had really sought them out over the years. They were in there for a reason. I identified with those games. Like, people know Jason owns those games that no one else has, and I shared them. I had archived them, preserved them. I felt, he said, like a tragedy for the video game community more than anything. How would he explain his hobby to a detective? Not everyone was sympathetic to a middle-aged man who collected video games for a profession. The detective would be a stranger to this world. He would see the stuffed animals, the doodads, his collection of Pac-Man ashtrays and drinking glasses, his Funko Land cartridge sleeve artwork, and probably wonder what his deal was. He imagined himself slipping into the collector's perfectionism of detail, offering an origin story for every single game, but nothing that could ever tell the half of why he'd acquired them. Two officers arrived soon enough and cordoned off the shop in yellow tape. One of them noted in the initial report that Brizard asked, "What do you think about this whole thing?" When the detective got there, he admitted, "Those games were my retirement plan." The police report takes 3 pages to list the titles of every game. Monetary values as assigned by Broussard to next to each one. Some are misspelled, Chubby Cherub, Winged Baby versus Canines 1986, missing its second U, and the Junior cut from the rare NES original black box game Donkey Kong Jr., Math, Famous Apes version of Education 1986. This is insane, man. Um, Look, I don't normally dive into articles this long, but this is a really good one, and I'm like my heart is like breaking right now for this individual because I can't necessarily I can't relate to the extent, but being somebody like I had gold cartridge Zelda, right? That is gone. I'm fortunate enough that my parents I left home when I was younger, right? And they held on to a lot of the stuff I had, which wasn't a large amount of stuff, but an amount of it. But some of it is still gone. Like, my Pokemon Red. I had Pokemon Red for Game Boy. It's gone. I don't know what happened to it. Right. My Gold Zelda cartridge is for NES is gone. I don't know what happened to it. After I left home. I'm not sure. And but I got a lot of my stuff because my parents did a pretty good job of holding on to most of that stuff for me, and I'm fortunate. But there's some of those things that I still think about that like I wish I had. I could not imagine collecting this amount of stuff that you're so passionate about and having it ripped out of your grasp, and God, people suck so bad. People suck so bad. Um, I'm going to skip a bit of this because we've gone long into the news segment already. I'm going to link this for you guys to take a look at after I get the gist of it here. Uh, Apparently, Holly Lunsford is a detective. She'd never heard of any of the stolen games. Broussard talked to her through the list. Chased the chuck wagon for the Atari 2600, made by Purina in the early 1980s, only available by mail-in proof of purchase from packages of dog food. Johnson and Johnson's tooth protectors, really just an advertisement for the company's toothbrushes. Captain Novolin, along with the impossible to get packaging sleeve, the only Super Nintendo game about living with diabetes. The complete boxed Atari 2600 editions of Bounty Bob Strikes Back, and Cubert's Cubes. One of the only dozen or so blue T-handled cartridges of Air Raid known to exist. Bonk's Adventure for the NES, cherry sealed in the original plastic. Certified 9.6 out of 10 by the game grading service WATA, and conceivably worth 100 grand by itself, according to Broussard. I was in awe, Lunsford admits. I didn't know about this stuff. That something would be worth that much in cherry condition or not, says the detective. But he had it all documented. There was no reason for me to question it. If I did, I could look it up if I wanted to, and some games I did, like Bubble Bath Babes. That's really one that stuck out in my head. I thought it was a kid game. Apparently, it's Nintendo porn. Lunsford began her investigation with the employees at the store, Tom Spitz, who had been in Japan during the break-in, and the new guy, Alex Nevad, whom Broussard had hired away from GameStop. Nevad, then 20, was the new dude. Words that came out of him in a defeated sigh. As Broussard assured Lunsford, Nevad had been nothing but a diligent employee with a healthy interest in older consoles, some released before he was born. When the store wasn't busy, Broussard taught him how to use the CD buffer to clean used game discs. At first, I was thinking people would point fingers at me, Nevad said. But Jason was totally understanding, and he even joked when I came in the next day, "Hey, he stole all my games." Broussard learned that Nevad had been sensitive to even this harmless ribbing. "I'm the most gullible person you'll ever meet," Nevad said, adding that he didn't know anything about the games in the back. I was like, "No, you don't need to look at Alex," Broussard told me when he told Lunsford. "I told the detective he's only been here a few weeks. I don't even think he knows I own a safe." Not long after the theft, Broussard hired Chris Gilbert, a former customer and his friend and confidant, who had an archivist's knowledge of video game history, and the authority to make a deal on his boss's behalf. The theft had forced all four men to start thinking about the games in ways that polluted their childhood endearments, in ways they'd never considered or taken seriously as enthusiasts, as fans. They recognized the new vulnerability in the community, or in the opportunity someone had taken, and maybe even the personal danger of working at such a store. The customers at Trading Games offered condolences in the period that followed. They commented with comfort emoji on the Facebook post, Broussard wrote, an emotional description of how his games were gone. They brought him cupcakes and chocolate chip cookies and get well cards and flowers. They appeared every so often then, from as far away as Memphis to buy a game, telling him they'd come just wanting to help. Broussard had trouble answering the one question everyone kept asking, "How are you doing?" The dolly tread and the story had made the local news. The front window got replaced, but Broussard, 46 years old, the month of the theft, wouldn't come right out and say that he could hardly bear to leave the store, or that he slept on an air mattress there for days after the robbery. Man. A few months after the heist in November, something weirder than usual happened at Grumpy Bob's Emporium, which, like Trading Games, was one of a dwindling number of used video game stores in the greater metro St. Louis area. Unlike Trading Games, it also used to offer lawnmower repair. Question of the day. Yo, what's up, country chick? Question of the day: are siblings just pets you didn't want and now you're stuck with them forever? What? Oh my gosh, dude, what a question. So I'll halt this real quick and I'll answer your question. I'm great. Thanks for asking, country chick. It's good to see you, my friend. Um, if that is a legitimate question, this is what I'll tell you about my experience with my siblings. I have an older and a younger sibling. Um, both amazing ladies. I'm the middle child and the only son. And I love both of my siblings dearly. People have different relationships with their siblings, right? So if that's a legit question, what I'll say is family dynamics are weird. They can be very odd. Um, I have two amazing siblings, and I'm very fortunate. When I was growing up, it was different, and um, my older sister and we tended to get along pretty well most of the time, right? Um, but my younger sister and we we had it out more often than not. Yeah. But I came very close to losing my younger sister when we were young. Um, and it changes the way you go. It changes your outlook. Yeah. Um, so Again, I think yo, it's random mode time, by the way, guys. Um, that's the second one I've gotten today of the Twitch emotes. Um, I never would have literally wished anything bad upon my younger sister. We just, you know, it was sibling stuff. We just didn't get it. We just had differences. That was it. It was just sibling stuff, and but I think when you experience something like that in your life, it can greatly affect and change the way you see things, right? And so, um, it definitely changed my relationship with my younger sister. It changed my relationship with uh, I would say my older sister, my entire family, because it was a very scary thing, and it kind of made all of us realize, I think, that you just never know. You never know. But look, I mean, I think what it comes down to is like, even as you become an adult, there are situations that can happen and that can make you angry at people, whether it be a sibling or what have you, But um, I don't know. I think for everybody it's different. I was fortunate enough that I have two amazing siblings. I really do, and especially to put up with me because I was a mess. I was a mess. The only boy and the middle child. I was destined to be a rebel, man, and I was. I was a hot mess for a good minute through my teens and like early adulthood and stuff. I was wild, and so I don't know. I got lucky. I have an amazing family. I got lucky. Yeah, no, no, you're good. Yeah, no, I mean, well, so this is the thing, because chat is text, right? Chat is text. If you had thrown like a Kappa emote in there, I would have taken it as a joke. It's hard to tell. If you'd thrown a Kappa emote in there with your question, I'd have gone, oh, she's joking, but there wasn't a Kappa emote in there. Or if you'd gone like slash S to show that you were being like sarcastic or something. Um, but again, if I can't tell if somebody's joking, I'm going to give you my experience. And no, you're good. You're good. That's just, I mean, that's the thing that we lack whenever we're talking about, um, interaction. Obviously, you guys can see me, right? So it's easy for you to see how I'm. You get my nonverbals and everything. That's what, roughly 60 to 70% of what our normal face to face communication is nonverbals, right? But that's what kind of emotes represent for a lot of what we lack as far as our text based communication through Twitch. Is it makes up for a lot of that nonverbal communication. So if we're joking around, or whatever, then we, use emotes or slash s or whatever. We use, emotes serve actually a very important function for us sometimes because we don't have that nonverbal communication. But it's cool, man. I mean, I don't mind elaborating on certain things about who I am and my life. I don't like to get into deep details, but I don't mind sharing a bit about my experience and everything. You know, got maybe a bit too wholesome there for people, but um, yeah. That's why I said I'm not sure if you were joking or not. That's why I said I wasn't sure if you were joking. But it's good to see you, country chick. Let's finish this up. A few months after the heist in November, something weird. Yeah. Only to get to Grumpy Bob's in Maryville, Illinois. A gamer had crossed the Mississippi River. Grumpy Bob's looks like someone's house. They decided to paint the siding bright yellow and the front door blue and put a collage of video game posters on the windows. The mascot is a cartoon portrait of an old man wearing an orange cap and a frown so exaggerated that his lower lip touches his nose and wrinkles his forehead. Grumpy Bob Vogel himself Mandy Vogel, his daughter-in-law, has helped run the store since Bob passed. She designed the logo with great affection. Mandy was the one to call Broussard to tell him about the incident at their store, having seen his Facebook post 2 months earlier. On the rainy evening of November 6th, a man and a woman arrived in a beat-up car. The man was wearing a Nike baseball cap, the bill obscuring his face. He held a large fountain soda in his left hand, frustratingly disregarding the sign asking visitors not to bring food or drink inside. The woman seemed younger, in jeans and some kind of poncho, with a wet grocery bag in her hand. The two of them walked to the cash register, where the woman opened the bag to reveal some of the rarest games the staff had ever seen, then arranged them on the glass checkout counter, hoping to make a deal. One of the clerks, Spidey sense triggered, called the Vogels at home. Mandy came in. The man seemed to get frustrated when Vogel asked him to wait while she checked the prices. She also asked for ID, a result of the sheriff's mandates that anyone who deals in secondhand items with serial numbers provide identification for customers. The man declined to provide any, but the woman showed her driver's license, which said her name was Tanya English. The guy seemed impelled to share a story about the games. He had had them forever. He found them in the garage and was now trying to see if they had currency. He needed to get his son out of jail. He was fidgety and insistent. How long would this take? Vogel suspected that whoever this was didn't have any knowledge or love for games at all. Grumpy Bob's had its share of weirdos, and Vogel had trained her staff to be cautious. We've had stalker guys, Vogel said, but 90% of our customers are on the normal side of geek. We're all weird. I mean, you say the normal side of geek. We're all weird. All geeks are weird, man. The normal side of geek. Yeah, 10% of 10% are very weird, very shifty though. They are frustrated with pricing. Everything is upsetting to them. They don't want us to do our due diligence. We've always been more than 50% female, and I've had moms reach out to me. Their young gamer girls can go in and talk to them versus these other game stores where it's all guys. That's cool. When Vogel began to tell this man she didn't have enough cash on hand and couldn't make a deal without knowing his name anyway, he got mad and began to shout, "I just want my stuff back. We're going to go. This is stupid. We're leaving." They didn't break anything on the way out, which she had feared. The games that Vogel's staffers had still been trying to find trade prizes for included a box copy of the Flintstones, The Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, one of the rarest NES games worth thousands in good condition, which this one was. Also, Mr. Doe's Castle for the Atari 2600 still in the box. One of the young women who works at the store noticed Mr. Doe's had a blemish at the top of the box filled in with red marker. A tiny flaw, one that Broussard had mentioned in his Facebook post. Vogel called Trading Games the next day, and that was how Holly Lunsford got the first decent security footage of the face of a thief. Broussard thought a better word was crook. In his nightmares, he tried to imagine this person who would bring a big station. I can't read. A gas station, Big Gulp, into Grumpy Bob's and cause a scene. Who would stuff copies of the rarest games on Earth into a grocery bag and then carry them in the rain? Because Broussard had no cameras outside the store before the robbery, the only recording police had managed to find was security footage from nearby businesses like Fenton Play and Learn Daycare and Slinger's Restaurant, but nothing solid. Trading Games was barely in view, but around the time of the robbery, a single cab two-door pickup truck pulls in toward Trading Games from the main road, and as Lunsford notes, a person approaches the store, but there's still nothing concrete, no hefting the safe into a truck bed, no mid-1980s model Toyota making its getaway. Broussard could only imagine it, which kept him in nocturnal distress. The horrors of someone else with the games, touching, squeezing them, bumping them around. Yeah. Tanya English and her angry companion operated without inhibition. That what they were doing might be suspicious. A few days after their Grumpy Bob's antics. Great word. They arrived at Game Over in Union, Missouri, this time perhaps slightly wiser about getting paid. Again, they tried to sell the Flintstones game, rumored and debunked by collectors to have been a rental exclusive at Blockbuster Video. The owner of Game Over, listed in police documents as Matthew Maynard, eventually made a deal. He shelled out cash for Flintstones and also Contra Force, the rarest and final game in the NES Contra trilogy, both complete in box, but Maynard only spent $450, thousands less than market price. When a Trading Games regular saw the new merch, he recognized those titles. Broussard drove to Game Over to talk to Maynard, who said, according to Broussard, something to the effect of a little old lady sold him the games from her closet. Lunsford also went to the store and spoke to Maynard, then took the games back to the station. Between the accounts from Grumpy Bob's and Game Over, Lunsford had a decent idea of who she was looking for. English's Facebook page was public and revealed her relationship with a man named Damon Jackson. The man seemed to match the description of a white male who tried to sell games to yet another used game store, a regional chain called Slackers, on more than one occasion at two different stores. In the first incident at the South County Center store, Jackson, partially hidden under a baseball cap, stopped at the threshold of the store's entrance while a female companion, not English, approached the counter, looking over her shoulder at Jackson as though he was her coach. She had so many rare games in her bag, really old games, with a manual and box that it startled the manager, Matt Hrevis. Atari 2600 games like Trapper and Mr. Doe's. No one ever brought in one of those games, much less a purse full. According to Hrevis, she said they were her son's games. Hrevis offered her a couple $100, a lowball figure she accepted. What? After she and the man by the door left together, he Googled the name of each game he purchased, plus St. Louis, and eventually found Broussard's Facebook post. Hrevis's boss, the owner of Slackers, realized he was in possession of stolen property. Soon, Lunsford had taken those games into evidence. By this point, the detective had reclaimed about half of the 120 stolen games. But none of the games could be called Cherry anymore. Oh, dude, that sucks. No, these games had the same titles as the ones Broussard lost, but they had been mauled or in some cases destroyed, as though the perpetrator realized the only way he could actually sell them without being caught was to cut their value. Oh, what a nightmare, dude. Broussard's air raid cartridge and his complete in-box Little Samson turned up damaged at two different game stores in Las Vegas, but Broussard didn't get them back. One of the owners told him, "You have insurance, don't involve me," when Broussard called after seeing his games for sale online. Others were more helpful when it comes to the bigger collections. And when something gets stolen, we collectors are like individual fingers. And when we connect, we can form a fist, says John Hancock, a retro game enthusiast with his own significant collection. See, that's what it's about, man. You know, we often talk about needing to form like a front as a gaming enthusiast and take a stand about some of this really negative stuff that goes on in regards to these gaming developers and some of the scummy stuff that happens and things like that. I do feel like there are a lot of us that have the same mindset, and to an extent, there are things that we can get done. But this just goes to show you there are people that are passionate about games and the gaming industry and collectors and things like that come together and can make great things happen, right? When something crappy like this happens, collectors work with one another. When Jackson went to establishments closer to home like Prestige Electronics and Arch City Gaming Company in Bridgeton, Missouri, he didn't bother to disguise himself. He apparently never truly considered the proximity of the stores to each other, or that the owners could possibly know one another. This was no criminal mastermind. He always had some story, says Broussard. His caper extended in scope, but the lack of creativity ultimately did him in. Jackson drove to Denver in a pickup truck, and the clerk working at Level 7 Games saw it in the parking lot. He told me, "I just had them," says John Young, the Level 7 clerk. He had some crazy rare stuff like Bubble Bath Babes in the box, games that we'd never seen before, and he didn't care at all. Again, Jackson declined to provide any ID. While Young pretended to look up prices, he had no intent of purchasing any of the games. He told a colleague to take a picture of Jackson's license plate. Young remembered reading about trading games, and he called Broussard. That was December 13th, 2019. Jackson's story about the games wasn't that unusual, and he told the various clerks that he'd never played them, which rang true because he didn't know anything about them, says John Mers, the owner of Bodosh's Games in St. Louis. Another stop on Jackson's list. It didn't flip a switch in my head. It didn't trigger that it was the stuff from Jason's heist. Jackson had a copy of Bubble Bobble Part 2 and a copy of NES game Worm, Journey to the Center of the Earth, that had also been in the safe, but this one was ripped out of its plastic WATA graded case. Jeez. What Mers didn't know at the time was that Broussard was staking Jackson out. "I paid Jackson in cash," Mers said. "We posted the games on Facebook, and Jason came in with a police officer and said, 'This stuff is mine.' So when Jackson called Mers and said he was going to return with more games, this time 3 undercover agents were waiting dressed like civilians, idly rifling through Magic the Gathering cards and NES cartridges. As Jackson was leaving the counter, the officers descended. He began cursing, Merce said. These are mine. I've had them forever. This is crap. Then I have to go to the bathroom. Jackson clutched his chest when they were putting him in handcuffs. The officers had to call an ambulance to the store. Broussard was sitting just outside in his truck, biting his fingernails. Jackson was arrested for possession of stolen property, taken to a local hospital, and released. After the stakeout, Broussard went to the police station with the undercover officers. The men couldn't get over any of it. The ordinary break-in that was also historic and kind of hilarious. And there were NES porn games, really? And so Broussard pulled up videos of Peekaboo Poker on YouTube to show them it was true. Jackson was arrested again in February 2020 for driving a car with expired plates, and then charged with 1 count of burglary, and 3 counts of stealing, one for over $25,000, 2 for amounts over $750. By then, Lunsford had enough evidence to pinpoint him at trading games at the time of the theft, using his phone data from a GPS warrant request. For what is likely the most valuable video game theft in history, Jackson was sentenced to 17 years in prison, deferred on felony probation. Part of his probation agreement depended upon his providing information on the rest of the games and paying around $24,000 in restitution. Nothing close to what those games were worth. Charges were never filed against English or the other woman in connection with the case. Broussard used to walk to the back room of the store in the morning just so he could see his games. To behold them was to breathe a little easier. Never mind the paperwork growing on his desk. The bathroom trash can overflowing with waddled up paper towels. The mini fridge in need of more Diet Cokes. Walking slowly into the mass of his collection, he could gaze on the colorful spines of the boxes, alphabetized in congruency on shelves that stretched the walls. Nothing else ever made him feel such ambition. I can smell the cartridges. I can smell the cartridges right now. Like, there's something about that, you know, if you grew up in the time of like VHS tapes and video game cartridges, there was that smell, man. Like, I'll never forget how excited I would get whenever I was a little kid, and the rare occasion where we would get to go to a video store to rent like a movie, and I would always try to talk my parents into letting me rent a video game. The smell of those stores, dude, I would give anything to have a constant air freshener, dude, or like candles, man, that smelled like cartridges, VHS tapes, and video game cartridges. Nothing else ever made him feel such ambition, the years required, the dedication, how he'd sought to find not only the games, but the ones in the very best condition. He'd brought his fiancée, Hope, to the store one evening, held her hand, and took her into the vault. This was like his life, dude. This was his like happiness. Everything lit up. He showed me around, and it was overwhelming, says Hope. Now his wife. This is how she first understood the pride of the man she was going to marry. The type of collector who'd gone after it all. He showed her Rob, robotic operating buddy, dude. Yeah, the 1986 robot console, NES robot console, in its sought-after box, Esoterica, like a clean copy of the Outback Joey exercise game for the Genesis, and his Cherry Rampage 2 Universal Tour for Nintendo 64 that came up with a plush rat keychain. He drove her to Tennessee to pick up an Atari 2600 mall kiosk from the late 1970s to conventions like the Midwest Gaming Classic in Wisconsin. He knew all the vendors and toured her through the booths full of games. When he asked her to marry him and she said yes, his friend presented them with a custom NES painted bridal white with his and hers controllers. Did she know about the games in the safe? Duh. Cheetahman 2, Final Fight Guy, Hagain for Super Nintendo. Not only his work, but his life's work, which had become part of her own. Their kids from different marriages played at the store at home. After he received some of the stolen games from police evidence in 3 batches, the last of which had come in a Huggies box, he set them out on the table with a white photo backdrop where he usually took pictures of the store's games before putting them online to sell, so he could see them better. A copy of Tapper that had been sold to Slackers, Cherry in the safe, looked like a car had backed over it. God. Stuntman, a rare game by the Panda Company, and Quadrum, Jackson had unsealed those from the ancient factory shrink wrap. The Atari 2600 game Boing, complete in box, was now flattened, cardboard furrowed. His copy of Guardian, gashed where an old price sticker had been on the top right, untouched from whoever purchased it long ago. Jackson had eradicated the serial numbers off the Penesian porn trinity, bubble bath babes, hot slots, peekaboo poker, with what Brazard imagined had to be steel wool or a belt sander. He's still trying to get back to where he was before, says Hope. It's like looking at a piece of art for him. You wouldn't want to see a Picasso have a scratch on it. And basically, that's how I would describe these to him, as his Picasso. I'd rather not have them back at all, he told Hope. God, dude. Like, I feel this guy's pain, man. Brazard hid the list of the games he'd made for insurance. 92,000 in the end, at the bottom of the drawer. He placed the Huggies box with about 40 of the games he'd gotten back on the floor of the vault room, away from view. Brazard has thought about trying to market his strategy, he confesses. Even damaged. Maybe they have value. The heist's aftermath coincided with the pandemic, 2 years of having way too much time by himself to obsess about it. He created a world of games to exist everywhere he could set his eyes, and now in lockdown, he was constantly trying to avert them. He had never collected for money. He wanted to own the games as a grown-up because he played them as a child, but money was one of the only things he saw now when he went into the back room. How could he see anything else? And it at least quantified his emotional loss. He sat down at his desk and wrote about how much he thought his entire collection would bring. 2 million? 3? Maybe it's time to sell, he said to Gilbert. The first video game Brazard ever got was called Mega Mania for the Atari 2600. It was a Christmas present the year he was 10. He'd torn the cartridge out of the box, forever diminishing the game's value, of course, not knowing the collector he'd become. Then the rudimentary piece of media impressed upon him the vaguest notion of his future life. Games would turn out to be connections to the past, to iterations of himself at different points. The 20-something would tote around a Nintendo 64, working for a plane cleaning company. The dad playing Wii with his daughter and son, who would grow up hanging around at the store. Quote, people remember doing certain things with friends and family, he says. I think that's what video games do, and that's what makes them what they are. The first game he purchased on eBay to start his collection back in his early 20s was Mega Mania Cherry for $10. When Brazard left Missouri this past fall and moved to Florida, he didn't take that game with him, or any of the others. He couldn't find the energy to alphabetically display cartridges on the walls of the new condo. There's not a single game visible in the place. He still owns trading games, but Gilbert has the keys. It's a sort of semi-retirement, Brazard jokes. He's got a job in gaming at a company called CGC that has made its name in comics and coins, and he'll spearhead the public launch of its game grading arm late this year. He and Hope are car enthusiasts, and so they drive their Jeep to car shows and to flea market in Fort Myers. Someone manning a retro game booth even recognized him once. Aren't you the guy from the robbery? That was the iteration of Brazard now. The collector who had his favorite prizes stolen, the mother of all game collections, in the safe he was now just trying to forget. Dude. Oh my gosh. What a story, man. Absolutely brutal story. I feel so bad for that individual. Good night. Very long news today. I'm sorry, but I held off on that article from yesterday so we could close out news before we got to the Nintendo showcase. Yeah. And even though the news was long today, I wanted to make sure we got to it because I was really interested in reading it. It hurt reading that story. It really did. I think a lesson to be learned there is if you have things that are worth a lot of money, I think the best thing you can probably do is maybe put them in a deposit box at like a bank or something like that, maybe. Especially if you have things that are very, very, very valuable. Make sure they're appraised appropriately, insured. Put them in a safe deposit box. that way you don't end up in a situation like that. That feels so bad, man. I feel for that individual. That's terrible. I know a lot. This is the longest news segment we've had in a very long time. There was a ton of articles today, plus needing to get to the that story that we just read that we had to save from yesterday. So thanks to everybody. It was a good news segment. It's a long one. I'm sorry, but I don't know if thanks to everybody that's part of this community, everybody that was part of the news segment today, and it's always part of what we do here. I appreciate you very much. If you are watching this as a VOD later on YouTube, you're enjoying the content, then please consider hitting that like and subscribe button and potentially leave me a comment so we can have a bit of a discussion regarding some of these articles that we went over today, okay? Also, see what you can do about coming and hanging out with us at 6 o'clock a.m. CST every single day, where we begin every stream with video gaming news, okay? Other than that, just stay healthy, stay safe, be kind to one another, and we will see everybody tomorrow morning for June 30th edition of Video Gaming News. All right?